back to Scotland for the next whiskey, and we're getting off the mainland. We're going to the islands, the Hebrides Islands here to the west of the Scottish mainland. And we're on the Isle of Mull, where the only remaining distillery on the island is called Tobermory, and they make two whiskeys there, Tobermory, not surprisingly, and Ledaig, Ledaig. It doesn't get pronounced the way it's written to most of us English-speaking people, but this odd spelling is pronounced Ledaig. This is a really interesting whiskey in this particular bottling. It's not bottled at the distillery itself. It's independently bottled. There's an organization called whiskybase.com that bottles their own whiskey and has cataloged over 100,000 different whiskeys over the years, hence the name Archives on the front of the bottle. The distillery Tobermory manufactures distills two of the whiskeys, as I discussed a second ago, and of the two, Ledaig is rather heavily peated. And peat is a very important part of the Scotch making process on the islands because of a lack of wood. So part of the Scotch making process is that barley seeds are put in water and left to germinate, and once they achieve a certain level of germination, that germination needs to be stopped to prevent too many sugars from being produced by the barley seeds. So that process of heating up the barley seeds to stop them from germinating is called malting, and in most areas of Scotland wood is used, but in the islands peat is used, and peat is an organic fuel source made of decomposed plant and animal matter that in some cases is thousands of years old, if not more. And that imparts a very signature kind of flavor to the whiskey, but also gives a certain oiliness to it. So there's a texture and a flavor to it that is very, very distinct. And most people either have a love of peat, or they can't stand it, or might even hate it. And for the people that don't like it, I just say that's more for me and Albert, because we love it.
Sure do.
And Ledaig is a beautiful example of a peated whiskey that is not from Islay. This particular one is cast strength. It's 107 proof out of the bottle, and it's $100 at Binny's right now. Albert and I found it on sale. It was $120 prior to that. I've never had this particular expression of Ledaig, so I'm really looking forward to tasting it for the first time. And when you nose it, you can smell the peat right away. You get a little bit of burnt rubber, and yes, I actually like that smell. It's described as also being floral and citrus with waves of peat, which I'm certainly picking up. Butterscotch, caramel and vanilla wafer, green apple, and black pepper. That sounds what a great combination. I can't wait to taste it. It's delicious. The peat is just fantastic up front, and you get a bunch of other flavors too, a little apple. The notes I have on it are grilled apple, bell pepper seeds, dehydrated lemon, campfire smoke, and spicy hot cinnamon. So smoky, iodine-y, spicy, those are all things that are commensurate with peat. On the back end, it's long and pleasant, with the spice really coming to the forefront, which is longer lasting, of course, than the sweeter components. And it's really warm, and it just tastes great. A lot of people would add water to this. I like it right out of the bottle the way it is, at 107 proof. And I think for $100, it's going to sound crazy. I think this is a great buy. One of the reasons why this tasting of Ledaig was an important one to add to our group is that it comes from an independent bottler. And the concept of independent bottling is one that's been long held in Scotland. And there's a few others other than Archives or whiskybase.com that independently bottles. Other well-known ones are Cadenhead and Signatory. And basically what the independent bottlers do, they go to different distilleries, they buy the cask, they store the cask themselves, and then they bottle it themselves and they put their own label on it. It doesn't mean that the whiskey is made someplace else, it just means that it's stored differently and maybe with greater care. Who knows? Nobody really knows. And typically the independently bottled whiskeys are cask strength, meaning that they're poured from the cask right into the bottle. And they're always well made. This particular independent bottling was from a hogshead cask, which is larger than a standard whiskey cask. A standard whiskey cask holds 36 imperial gallons, an imperial gallon being equivalent to 1.2 US gallons, and the hogshead cask has 54 imperial gallons. And the reason why a whiskey maker might want to put their whiskey into a hogshead cask is they want less surface area contact with the wood, so that the whiskey gets to mature without much wood contact and doesn't get influenced very much by its surface area contact with the wood. The other thing that this bottle brings up is the concept of pronunciation, and I mentioned this earlier in one of the other videos, and the one that twists the tongue or twists the brain the most of the different pronunciations is this one. I really couldn't for the life of me understand why L-E-D-A-I-G is pronounced Lejig, but it is, so just go with it. But if you really want to sound knowledgeable about talking about whiskey, you'll learn that the pronunciations of distilleries whose names just don't make all that much sense. One of the more common ones is O-B-A-N. Most Americans pronounce it Oban or Oban, neither of which is correct. The proper pronunciation is Oban. Quite a bit simpler. Another island scotch is Arran, A-R-R-A-N, which is over here just to the east of Campbelltown. There's only one distillery there. This is not surprisingly called Arran, A-R-R-A-N. Arran is known for having the cleanest water in Scotland and also the beautiful sweaters that are made there. And it's a beautiful whiskey, like most of the island scotches are. Others that I mentioned earlier are Balvenie, B-A-L-V-E-N-I-E, not Balvenie, but Balvenie. And you'll notice that in these pronunciations, usually the first syllable is the one that's emphasized. The last one being Glenmorangie, as opposed to Glenmorangie or Glenmorange or anything of the sort. It's Glenmorangie is the proper pronunciation. There's probably a few more that escape my mind right now, but learning proper pronunciation will make you sound far more knowledgeable when you're discussing whiskey with your friends. And if you really want to impress them, show them how you can pronounce the whiskey properly.